Welcome to Houston Sports Talk with your host, Robert Land.
Hey, welcome to our live Texans-Broncos post-game show. Thanks for checking into the best Houston sports podcast, part of the National Bleav Network, presented by FanDuel. Joining me to break this down, as usual, our usual cast of characters, contributor and Bullpen podcast host, Thomas Chavarria. And down over on the right here, Houston radio legend Jayson Braddock. And hey, you live YouTube viewers, you are a part of the conversation. So hit us with your questions and comments. And Tom, I'm just going to call it right now. Time of death for the Texans' 2025 playoff hopes. 13:56 left in the second quarter against the Broncos. I don't know if you agree with me, but that's when they lost Stroud, and that's when they lost the season.
I can't agree with you because if that's the case, I'm not watching the rest of the season. I'm going to start watching college football, and I'm going to start mock drafting for the next 8, 9, 10 weeks. I'm not doing that. But I knew tonight was going to be like that. Normally, I got a glass of water, and, I'm keeping it PG-13. But I knew we were going to have one of those shows. So I got a little maker's mark, 46, finished into French oak barrels, because I knew it was going to be like that tonight.
Right.
What do you think, Jayson?
Yeah, I mean, when you going into the week, I said this is a must-win game. I know everybody's like, well, every game's must-win. No, let's don't get caught up too much into that. A must-win is something to where the trajectory of your season relies so much on the outcome of that game. With that being said, this was a must-win for the Texans. They had it right there in their hand. Now, I don't fault them for C.J. Stroud getting a concussion, being knocked out. But when you dig yourself into an 0-3 hole, you can't have anything. You limit yourself as far as any type of bumps along the ways. This right here, I felt like a team like the Texans would need to go 10-7 to make a wild card this year. After this loss, that means they would have to go 7-2. And with 3 games coming up, starting in 3 weeks against Buffalo Bills, Indianapolis Colts, Kansas City Chiefs, that's a tough ask. I don't see us happening. I do think it's probably Tom, like you said, to flip to the mock drafts a little bit and start watching that college film.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be super tough for them to even get to 8-9 this year. 2 games against the Colts. You mentioned the Chiefs, the Bills, Chargers. I mean, the schedule is so difficult coming up. You can't say that the Texans can beat good teams because they haven't beat good teams in the last 2 years. I mean, it's happened very rarely that they beat playoff teams that are like really quality teams. So, I mean, look, Malik the Rapper says Nick Caley red zone play calling this season has got to be studied because it has been terrible. We're going to get to that. Brian says D'Amico needs to go. How many games do we have to witness of him and his staff being out-coached? That's kind of my point. Like, I keep saying that. Like, beat somebody that matters. Beat a good team. Out-coach another good coach. And I don't want to hear about the Stroud excuses, but we're going to get to all that as this one goes along. We're going to take it 1 series at a time or 2 series at a time, I guess, at times, but we're going to hit the highlights, starting off with Texans get the ball first. Stroud finds Nico, and then Christian Kirk for 2 big 3rd and longs, hits Kirk on a gutsy 4th and 2 at the 30. So those 2 guys that you had back in the lineup paying dividends early on, but on 3rd and 5, Lake and Tomlinson just gets overpowered on a Stroud sack. Fairbairn misses a 51-yard field goal. Jayson, what happened on that sack on Stroud in that situation?
Yeah, so just trying to replay it back through my mind there. That's where the pressure came from inside, correct? Where Laken Tomlinson was getting pulled back into Stroud's lap. I think it was Zach Allen who, coming into this game, leads the NFL with 22 quarterback hits. Nobody else within 17. Let me go ahead. I might be getting to this a little bit early, but I know Ursary had a play or 2 that got away from him. Maybe the Nick Benito play where he just whiffs on him will catch a highlight on social media. But Ursary impressed me with this in this game. I mean, it was a tough matchup for him. He answered it. But on that play where the tackles are getting pinched inside, there's no place to step up. Laken Tomlinson just gets walked straight back to the quarterback. And Stroud, there's nothing he can do there.
Yeah, I have a thought on Ursary might have been the reason why the Texans lost this game. I agree with you that there was a lot to like about Ursary in this game, but we're going to get to what happened later on. Engineer says D'Amico, a glorified DC guy, does not know how to field a complete team. I would agree. I mean, I'm sticking with what I thought on D'Amico as this year has unfolded, and I keep saying the same stuff. Just disappointment. I can see Tom with that mocking smile of his, and we're going to get to Tom's thoughts on this a little bit later. But Broncos first possession, they moved down the field on the back of J.K. Dobbins. I remember somewhere that Jason might have suggested J.K. Dobbins would be a Texans option, but Texans fans sort of laughed at him. But J.K. Dobbins is having a pretty darn good year. Unfortunately, after a dropped pass on 3rd and 8 for the Broncos anyway, Danico Autry blocks the field goal, his second this year, 3rd in 2 seasons. And Tom, there are times Danico feels like a luxury with all the defensive line depth, but his unusual ability to block kicks is why I just can't see Caserio trading him at the deadline. This is such an unusual skill and gives you a chance at maybe making plays that you wouldn't normally get a chance to make and winning plays during games.
Well, I think if Nick feels like you guys do and feels like the season's over, he absolutely needs to trade Danico Autry because he's 34, 35. I can't remember exactly his age, but on the backside of his career, that's the type of dude you move to a playoff contender, try to get you a day 2, day 3 pick, whatever the case may be. I'm not really good with what that value would be, but you go and you get something. If they feel like y'all feel, then they should make moves. Christian Kirk should be gone. There are players on this team that are blocking young talent. Jason was talking about it a little bit, how the young guy should play and go do what you got to do. I don't think they're going to do that because I don't think they feel that way. I don't think they can afford to feel that way because that's an indictment on the head coach and the general manager who actually puts the players on the team, not the head coach. I know you will disagree on that, but I think Nick Caserio wouldn't have the job if he didn't have final say on who he gets to put on this roster. So if y'all are out on D'Amico, y'all better be out on Nick too, because he's the one that cooked this up.
Yeah. And Brian M points out that, Tom is too nice. He says, man, you're too nice. Let it rip. This team is dead. Same old Texans. I guess I'll let Brian's taking some hits here. I'm going to let the guy with D'Amico's hand up the back of his shirt, moving his lips, talk about his thoughts on D'Amico and whether this team should be, considering D'Amico's future at this point.
I just don't see how y'all don't feel that this is a product of trying to make the offense better. Like this isn't an indictment on D'Amico with his defense, is it? Like that defense is Super Bowl caliber. If anybody thinks that he was going to help fix the offense, it's a mistake. I truly believe that they're trying to grow an offense and grow through an offensive coordinator, and it's struggling. This defense did its job. D'Amico, for all of the noise and all of the knocks, I feel like that's the team that you thought you were getting, a team that played defense first and then tried to get their offense to catch up to the defense. We're still not there yet. I mean, we're going to get to the plays, right? We're going to talk about the goal line stuff, aren't we? And then that won't be on D'Amico, in my opinion. Now, if you want me to go after some players, hey, that offensive line has been bad for a while, and there's been people that have tried to argue that it's been good. And today they faced elite talent and got pushed around. And I knew that was going to happen. They've done that to good teams. I really feel like, as much as I like to bag on the offensive line, there were moments in this game where they were good. CJ had time. Davis Mills had time. They made some throws. We'll obviously get into it. It's just the way right now, playing a first place schedule, you got to be a first place team, and they're not.
Yeah, Brian's argument here, he's saying that, look, you can tell me D'Amico's a good defensive coordinator, but, you can't tell me he's a good head coach. Like, being a good defensive coordinator, Tom, is not enough to win in the National Football League. You have to be able to do everything. You have to be able to do clock management. You have to be able to get guys to not commit penalties, especially detrimental penalties in key situations, which the Texans always seem to do. Speaking of those goal line situations, we're going to get to that. But, you've also, you've got to put the right players in place at the right times. And, that seems to be a D'Amico problem, right?
Sick of hearing about penalties. The most penalized football team in the NFL this season is who? the Denver Broncos, and it doesn't matter. They're the fourth quarter magicians. They don't care. They overcome them. Now, if you want to argue that he doesn't have those guys ready to play, I'll go with you there. They got to start faster. They got to get that 7 to begin the game that they didn't get. I'll go with y'all there. Absolutely. I don't know how much DeMeco has on that. If you want to call him a bad head coach because he's not an offensive coordinator, I'll go with you there. He's not. He wasn't brought in here to be an offensive coordinator. He was brought in here to create an elite defense, and he did that. Now he's trying to learn that the other side of management. I mean, we got to remember this is his third year, right? It's not like he's been doing this for 20 years like some of the guys that are leading good football teams.
Mike McDaniel, what year was he when he just out-coached and outclassed the Texans? He was in his second year. Like, there's guys that figure this stuff out, not year 10 or 20. That's one game. I mean, it's one game. That's like we're talking about the season. The Texans are 3-5, and and the thing about DeMeco, and this is my thing, Jason. I keep talking about this, and I can't remember if you've discussed this at all with us, but DeMeco, it's trending down, not up. I mean, a guy that you want long term should be trending. If you think he's good, he needs to start trending up and not down. I get the schedule's harder, but when you're making the same errors week in and week out, when the same stuff keeps happening, it's to me, it's like this is a guy that's not getting better.
I truly believe. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead, Tom.
I truly believe if CJ Stroud does not get injured, they win this football game. No doubt in my mind. And for everyone that's saying that DeMeco's not doing this, doing that, if they win this football game, we're not having this conversation. Fair. No one is talking about DeMeco's job if he won this football game. Now, to do it with a backup QB, hard for anybody. You name any backup quarterback in the league that's making their team look good right now. It's not every week. Now, there's guys that'll get you a win somewhere. It would have been nice if Davis would have got it done today. He didn't get it done.
All right, we'll talk more about it. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. You go ahead, Jason. I forgot. Go ahead.
No, I think what Tom's saying is fair. Both points he said, 100% accurate. CJ Stroud finished this game, the Texans win. And we're not discussing if DeMeco should be fired. I think both of those points are fair. I think it's probably a little bit too early right now to say fire him. That being said, I do think the season's over. And I will disagree with Tom on one thing. DeMeco wasn't brought in to just give you an excellent defense. When you brought in as a head coach, you're responsible for all of it. So same thing with Gary Kubiak when he goes out and gets a Wade Phillips, and then you got a TV coach like Vance Joseph, who the Texans just saw today as the D coordinator, and he's also the former head coach there for the Denver Broncos. And so now I don't know. I'll be honest, and I'll be the first to say I don't know who has. I know what it looks like, but I don't know who has the final say on these offensive coordinator decisions. If those aren't 100% on DeMeco Ryans, then I say, no, you don't fire DeMeco Ryans. You let him pick an OC, because I can't hold that guy accountable if he's being forced upon an OC, especially a first-year OC, where you can't expect them halfway through the season to be hitting on all cylinders. That being said, with how bad they've been in the red. We were talking last week, and we were saying, against the 49ers, it might not matter that the Texans, I said, nobody's going to care that the Texans stunk it up in the red zone against the 49ers because they came out with the win. But the point of bringing it up last week is that you're going to have other games where it's going to cost you wins like it did today. Against the Baltimore Ravens, who were putting out their split squad to steal some I know you're some Major League Baseball fans. So the Ravens played their split squad against the Texans, and they went 4 for 5 in the red zone. The rest of the season, the other 7 games, the Texans are 4 for 17 in the red zone. That's not bad. That's bad news Bears type bad. That's horrific, embarrassing. And I can't even chalk that up to a first-year OC.
Yeah, and I'll just say real quickly, talking about where Tom says, oh, if Stroud plays this game, they win the game. Let me just point out the Texans are 3-5. They've won 3 games. 2 of those were against backup quarterbacks, and 1 of those was against a rookie quarterback that's one of the worst teams in all of football right now. So, we can go ifs and buts on everybody. And I will also say, and I'm going to get to this later in the show, that the Texans could have easily won this game if they would have done what they were supposed to do when CJ Stroud was on the goal line. But we're going to get there. After the blocked field goal, CJ, huge completion to the Rodney Dangerfield of the Texans. No respect for Dalton Schultz. Yeah, I said it. 47 yards to the 12, but Kaylee goes back to the same old BS, refusing to sneak it one time on 3 downs from the 1-yard line. For some reason, Ursary, the left tackle, jumps on a 4th down sneak. I mean, if the left tackle needs to block for you on a 4th down sneak, then this is what I'm talking about. This is why D'Amico needs to be fired, because you cannot have a left tackle, I don't care if he's a rookie, jumping like the last thing that should be said before you walk to the darn line is nobody jump, because it's just me and the guards in the center, and that's it on this play. It's all I need. And Jayson, I just don't understand this. The quarterback sneak, 1 week it's in, 1 week it's out. Make me understand what's going on here.
No, I think it's a question we've had, all year long, and you finally get ready to see it, and they get a false start from Ursary, like you said. Now, I don't blame D'Amico for Ursary. I understand what you're saying. Discipline goes up to the head coach, but I can't blame D'Amico Ryans for a rookie left tackle against that team false starting there on the quarterback sneak. Does it make sense for him to false start? No, but he's a 23-year-old. Playing half the games through his first rookie season. So sometimes a mistake just happens at unfortunate time. And I definitely don't put that on D'Amico.
Yeah, it's just, to me, it's like tone setting. It's the coach is a tone setter, and the little things, just doing those little things right, not dumb penalties at the wrong times. I mean, we're going to get to another dumb penalty coming up at the wrong time, but not that type of stuff. And we've seen 3 years of the tone setting, and the tone setting is like, oh, it's okay. Like there's no real threat if something happens that you're going to not be out there because you commit one penalty after another. We saw this on special teams last year. I forget the guy, but they finally got rid of him at the end of the year, but it was too late. He committed like 5 or 6 terrible special team penalties. One of the guys in the secondary, that stuff was driving me nuts. Texans defense after that goes 3 and out, thanks to Kamari Lassiter, who broke up a potential big play down the sideline. Then Daniil deflects a screen pass. I mean, I'm also going to point out that Kamari Lassiter has totally outplayed Derek Stingley this year. He looks like an all-pro, an incredible game for Lassiter all the way around. But on the Texans' next possession, disaster happens. Stroud drilled on that slide, Tom. What are your thoughts on the slide? And then no penalty put in right there.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I hate the people that say that it's a clean hit. I hate the people that say that it didn't need to be a flag. You can't sit there and go nuts when it happens and it's the Texans guy, and then turn around and change your tune when it's the Texans getting hit. It's bad for football. I just want consistency. I just want fair. You can't tell me that's not a flag. There's no way. I see so many other penalties where it's less egregious, and we can go back to Trevor Lawrence, and you defended that play then and said, no, he's got to be smarter. He's got to be smarter. And does this guy not have to be smarter? How is that play any different from what happened to Trevor Lawrence? It's not. And they even asked Aziz about it, and Aziz was like, look, I didn't try to do it. I know that guy didn't try to do it, but you can't tell me that guy didn't need to get flagged, because I got flagged and then got suspended and then got ejected. Like, we didn't get any of that. You had Moose Johnson over there defending him. I was sick of him. I've never heard somebody just. I mean, I guess I have, but it felt like he was just pining for Denver the entire game. I'm like, this is what we get. We get a Fox broadcast, but I digress. I just hated it. I hated it for CJ. I hated it for everything that play is, because you're not helping that get better. That play right there, somebody else is going to get lit up because they didn't protect CJ right there, and it's just not going to be Patrick Mahomes. It's just not going to be him. It'll be one of the other guys, and we're not getting it out of the game.
I think Tom's going to hate me. Yeah, I think Tom's going to hate me, Rob, because I'm one of those that. And Texans fans going to hate me right there with you, Tom. I rewatched it. Watching it live, I didn't think it was a penalty. Rewatched it several times. Didn't think it was a penalty. Had no issue with it at all. I hate that Stroud got a concussion on that. Really hit his head hard there. Stroud, the DB, Chris Abrams-Drain, starts breaking down for the hit, goes to the body, doesn't go to his shoulders, neck, or heads, anything like that. He's breaking down before Stroud. Stroud doesn't do traditional slide. He starts taking his legs down and almost sitting down. I think that plays a part into it as well. There were several missed penalties that played huge factors to benefit to benefit the Broncos in this game, and we'll touch on those. This one here, though, I'm probably going to be in the minority in Houston, especially I'm not getting a Christmas card from Tom after hearing what he said, but I had no issue with no flag on it.
Yeah, and I'm going to point out something that I got into a back and forth with somebody on X on this, and apparently they didn't understand that the rule has changed. They're like, oh, this would not have been the case with Patrick Mahomes. Oh, let me just tell you, with this video assist that they've got now, this is a new thing. If you don't know, this can be checked, and it was checked by the video assist, and that's why it didn't happen. That's why they took away the penalty. And I believe if the video assist was going on in the playoffs last year, then those Mahomes penalties would have been reassessed. And no, I think they got it right. I mean, I feel like Azeez has crossed the line. I mean, I hear Garrett Williams, Texans Stressens, defending Azeez all the time. I can't do it. I can't defend Azeez on the stuff that he's done. He's crossed the line multiple times. And when he, I feel like is doing the right thing, I will let you know. But, you know, most of the time I just felt like Azeez hasn't been doing the right thing. And for this one, I think they got it right. He threw the shoulder in. Stroud was basically in the middle of starting to slide. And that guy was in the air almost at the exact same time. He went shoulder first. He didn't hit Stroud in the head. He didn't hit him in the shoulders. The head snapped back and hit the ground because he hit him in the upper body, and that snapped his head into the ground, and that's where the injury took place. So, and also right there, it was just weird because you're 1 yard away from the down marker. Why are you going feet first and even risking? Because he has to. I mean, Stroud's always like got peripheral vision as a quarterback. You know the guy's coming in on your right. You might as well go ahead first and go for their first down right there, as opposed to going with the slide when you're 1 yard away. And that's what you would have said, Tom, last year. I believe you did say that Trevor Lawrence should have gone head first. These guys, what I remember you saying is you said these guys, they're making themselves almost more vulnerable by going feet first, and it's almost worse when they try to do something like that. Am I not correct?
100% wrong. My argument then was Trevor Lawrence should have gave himself up earlier. He had plenty of time. That play, there was you saw him coming. The difference between this play and that play was this dude came from the side of CJ and clipped him. Azeez was coming from bearing straight down in front of him, and he tried to get every last yard he could, then gave himself up. And then that was the thing, right? We're protecting these guys. You got to be smarter. He's giving himself up. Butt, feet, left, right, whatever. CJ was giving himself up in that play to protect himself, which was smart. CJ goes head first, then you're going, hey, stupid, if you slide, you're protecting yourself. We want you to be smart. CJ was being smart, got blown up, and the league said, we're not protecting you, bro. We're going to protect somebody else. That's the way I'm taking it, because we sure did protect Trevor Lawrence. That's exactly what we're saying. You can't hit Trevor Lawrence like that. Somebody could go hit CJ like that, I guess.
Engineer says, to be fair, Stroud was flirting with that hit. He did the same thing last week against the 49ers, even mentioned it during the press conference. Ronnie says, do you think that's why the Broncos won, because Houston's quarterback got hurt? I've already said no. I mentioned the Ursary deal because if they get that 4 points there, they won the game. And I'm going to mention one other play,
Rob,
too.
I want clarification, Rob. So just for the record, you're saying if Stroud plays more than one quarter in 1 minute, the Texans don't win this game?
Oh, sure, they could have won the game, but I mean, we could play this game with a bunch of stuff because, like I said, they played two backups. I just don't want to hear it. Like they played 2 backups already this year
That's
with
something
2 of their
different. I'm
wins.
fine. I'm fine with that. If you're not here to mention ifs and buts like you said earlier, but right there it sounded like you were saying if Stroud, even if they play, they lose this game. So those are 2 different things. Yeah, I'm fine with you saying that you just don't want to hear it. But I thought you were saying the Texans don't win it even if Stroud played because Stroud was balling. Stroud was making throws like he was making last week. I want to make sure that's no. He only played 1 quarter. He's got a couple highlight type throws on that thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, you could say that. I just hate getting into that conversation because I feel like the Texans have gotten some breaks this year too. And, I still feel like they should have won the game because of the Ursary
Absolutely.
penalty, the play calling. And we're going to get to the next part of that in just a second here because Bullock intercepts a bad throw by Nix, but basically acts as a bad punt for the Broncos. Texans at midfield. Davis Mills at quarterback. Perfect 26-yard throw to Nico. After Nico catches another one at the 2, Kaylee still calling short yardage near the goal line like he had the concussion and not CJ Stroud because he calls a quarterback sneak for Mills at the 2 that he wouldn't call for CJ Stroud at the 1 when he had 3 chances to do it. Then Xavier Hutchinson kills the Texans with an obvious holding call. Again, those 2 plays, that's an 8-point difference probably right there because the Texans blow another chance at 7. Jason, we can all agree the QB sneak was ridiculous, but what did you think about that Nico run on the Hutch penalty? Was that even a good play call right there? Did you like that as a change up instead of, bullying ahead with British Brooks and Nick Chubb straight into the pile?
I think Nick Caley's trying to find his identity, try to be creative, find something different that works. I have no problem with him trying something else other than just rushing up the middle twice as far as on the Nico Collins play. The problem on the Nico Collins on rewatch I had, Hutchinson gets blown up. Dalton Schultz, he punches his guy. He hits him with a punch, but there you need to have a sticky block so the guy can't come off of it. So even if Hutchinson, who's getting blown up 2 to 3 yards in the backfield and making Nico round his route even more so he can't get that corner edge, even if Hutchinson doesn't do that, because Schultz doesn't get sticky with his block, his man runs free and he's going to make the tackle on Nico short of the yardage. So that play right there, it works if Hutchinson and Schultz does their job. So I don't have a problem with the play call.
Yeah, to me, it's, Hutch just can't. I mean, you're on the outside. You're right open to the officials. They had 2 guys watching. You're being looked at, because that's where Nico's running the football. You got 2 guys that have clear shots at seeing what you're doing. You cannot do that. And Hutch had a couple of penalties in this game that were very costly. We're going to get to one later in the game. Just not great stuff from Hutch in this one. Also, I want to mention before we move on that even if you're not watching us live, still want to hear you in the YouTube comments. As always, let your friends know about our live post game so we can get some fun back and forth in the comments, guys. Just love hearing your comments, and I'm going down the list right now as quickly as I can as we're talking. So I might jump to some of these comments as we move along, but make sure to subscribe on YouTube with notifications so you can get the updates on the live shows and all our content. You also want to subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app. All right, back to the action. Broncos, a couple of big chunk plays on Texans busted coverage. Then Nix to Sutton on a 30-yard touchdown. Really the only breakdown in the first half. Tom, and Stingley made a great play on Sutton's first down, but he lost Sutton there at that point. Bullock gets over too late. Not a good series for the secondary. Well, terrible series for the secondary. What did you see on that play? And then I want you to follow Jason with anything you want to add to that.
I really just thought that Derek Stingley Jr. lost his footing a little bit. Credit to Courtland Sutton. He made a good move to create the separation. It's not a terrible wide receiver. I know we expect our guys to just be elite all the time. Courtland Sutton's a good football player. He made a good play, and Stingley stumbled, and it cost him probably, the game right there. I mean, that was pretty much a huge turning point. I know I saw Jason. He talked about it on Twitter, so I won't steal that from him. But I think every once in a while you just got to tip your cap to their team. I'm not going to sit here and dog Stingley because he's made so many plays and had a chance to make more in this game.
Yeah, so for me, First down. I think we'd ought to be talking about Stingley's great play. Almost had that pick later. He should have had. I'm sure we'll touch on that later. Against Troy Franklin, Bo Nix college teammate, he goes up one hand, and it looks like Franklin's pulling on his dreads a little bit, and Stingley's asking for the offensive pass interference there when Stingley got the one hand up there on first down. Following up on third down, two things here. First thing, this is the second straight week where the Texans defense is just shutting down the team in the first half. Then on a 3rd and 10 going into halftime, 5 minutes or less, you're giving up a big touchdown play. You give them a lifeline and allow them to get back in the game, like you said, Robert, where they weren't doing anything well. Second thing, and this is completely speculation off of what I see when I went back to the rewatch, because I don't know what their assignments are, but 3rd and 10, you've got your pass rushers. There's no reason to have Derek Stingley Jr. up on pressing the line. They've got to get 10 yards or they're kicking a field goal. So put them off the line if you want them to do some man coverage. But when you see Sutton do the little shake move there, the double move, Stingley flips his hip. He's looking back into the backfield, and he doesn't come out of it full burst until his eyes lock on Kalen Bullock. And it almost appears that he's shocked by where Kalen Bullock is, thinking that he's going to have him over the top. And so then he hits a second gear. When he switches it on to the second gear, but not until he sees Bullock, makes me feel like there's a miscommunication on the play, whether that's on Stingley, whether that's on Bullock, or whether I'm reading too much into it. I can't tell you that. But for what it looked like to me, this looked like a miscommunication more than Stingley just getting burnt on a double move, just based off of how he played it coming out off of that break, the way he's looking into the backfield and the way he reacts when his eyes locates Bullock.
The TV guys agreed with you. They felt like Bullock was supposed to be the guy moving over there, and Stingley threw it into that other gear. One thing you said, Jayson, that I was thinking of as you were talking about it, you said, they had a breakdown at the end of the half. What we've seen from this Texans defense is, as far as the game goes, when the other team isn't, trying to do something at the end of the half or at the end of the game, they play really great. It's those situations that they've been killed. And, I got into it a little bit, not got into it, but I replied to Garrett Williams because he's like, oh, this is a great, we got to say this is a great defense. Well, if you're talking about elite defense, all-time defense, it's not, because at big moments, they break down. There are issues with this team in big moments. This is the 3rd game where you just needed the defense not to give up points at the end of the game, and you win the game. Or if nothing else, it goes into overtime. It's the 3rd game of the 5 losses that the defense was on the field at a big moment, and they could have ended it, and they didn't do it. I mean, we saw it with the Baker Mayfield play. We saw it this week. The Jags scored with less than 2 minutes to go on the clock. I mean, the defense, we talk about them being a really good defense, but we can't – there is no discussion. The 85 Bears don't have these breakdowns at the end of game. They don't lose close games. The Texans have 5 losses. 3 of them, the defense, they could have done something about, Jayson.
Yeah, no, I mean – comparing different eras is a little bit tough because there's so much of a passing league now. That being said, I get your general point as far as in your biggest moments, this Texans defense is going to let you down to where, and what I mean by that let you down is that the opposing team has the ball and they need a drive to get in field goal range or score a touchdown, whatever they need. I don't have confidence that Texans defense is going to stop them. Now, throughout the game, between the 20s, I feel like they're going to lock you down, make you struggle, and you're not going to do anything consistently well. But it feels like the opposing offense elevates their games in key moments over this defense with as talented as they are. So I think it's a fair point in that regard.
Yeah. And, Dr. Dre on 290 says, where's Joe Mixon? Let's not gloss over that, too. I got to say, I'm seeing Janice McNair out there on a wheelchair at halftime at NRG Stadium. If she can show up in a wheelchair and be at NRG Stadium, I need Joe Mixon out on the darn field. If Janice McNair is tough enough to be out there, where are you, Joe? I need you out on the field. No, I'm kidding. But we're waiting to find out. Joe is walking around. He seems to be maybe a little bit better, but still no update. D'Amico was asked about it this week. Still no update. So moving on, next series, Mills hits Nico and Schultz for a couple of first downs. And then I was wondering, did either of you have an issue with kicking the field goal on 4th and 1, or did you want to see Nick Caley drawing up another 4th and 1 play with Davis Mills at quarterback right there?
I was perfectly fine with it. I think points were, at a premium. You looked at where they were in that game. They were trying to kind of salt it away. Give me all the points you could get. I think there's a different conversation to be had if that's CJ and not Davis. I definitely didn't feel like he was just going to be able to march the football up and down. He had some success, but overall, you could just tell they were playing not to lose with Davis Mills. You never saw any explosive, never anything deep shot. I don't know what the A-dot was for him, but it couldn't have been more than, that one play to Nico, and that was it. And for me, that just screams, okay, I can't turn this football over. And maybe that was something that was, in his ear from D'Amico, like, hey, protect the football. Don't do nothing else. Protect the football.
Yeah, normally I'm a go for it guy, but when you can't get into the end zone with 4 tries from the 1 yard line, throughout the season, and then you're in a defensive battle and you've got your backup quarterback, I was 100% on board with kicking the field goal there, especially when it gives you the lead. You give that defense the lead, I think you feel comfortable with it there. So, no, I was 100% on board with it when you factor in all the other variables.
Yeah, I do want to go back to something Tom said a little bit later, because he talked about Davis Mills didn't have some big opportunities, or they didn't try anything with Davis Mills. We're going to touch on that, because I think that's false, because I also read about that from some of the people on X. I also want to point out on the next kickoff, Texans catch a bit of a break. Fairbairn, his second bad kickoff, putting it in the end zone. But the refs decide the ball should be at the 20 because they say the returner wasn't all the way in the end zone. Fairbairn's got to get better at these kickoffs. Fairbairn's screwing up some basic stuff here on the kickoffs with the new rules. But after a couple of forced punts on each side, secret important storyline in this game rears its head for the Broncos. And, that was one of the things that I heard from some Broncos people before the game. Last week, they screwed up by leaving their punt returner Mims in the game late in the blowout. He ends up with a concussion. Their backup, Michael Bandy, is the guy that fumbles that punt, helping the Texans to 3 points. And Tom, one of the things that was really nice to see in this game is just Jalen Smith making an impact. He's right there for that fumble recovery. The rookies continue to make plays for the Texans and help them almost win some games. And in some cases, they've won games for the Texans this year.
Yeah, and like I said, like if they feel like the season's done, I think we should get the entire rookie exposure. I truly believe that, some of those guys are absolutely the future, and they should get as much play time as you could possibly give them. I don't understand why you would block them at this point.
Tony says, bring in Hugh Freeze to call plays. I would say no, thanks. Texans defense, they get another 3 and out to start the second half. Jalen Knoll, not Braxton Berrios, the sweet punt return to midfield. Mills gets in field goal range on a hookup with Hutch out, but on with Xavier Hutchinson. But on 3rd and 9, so you're right there. Mills throws it behind an open Schultz. This is like what I was just talking about. He throws it to behind an open Schultz, leading to a Fairbairn 5th field goal. I mean, it's just some basic stuff, Jason. And there's another big play that he kind of messed up on, but the miss on Schultz throw, it's why Mills is a backup. The consistent accuracy, it's been an issue for him his entire career.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I know, we're all talking about backups and that you're in a backup in this game, that you don't expect them to win. Mills has been here half a decade. This guy was drafted in the 3rd round. The knock on him coming out was that he just didn't have enough playing time in college. But I know you don't get a lot of live reps, especially after CJ Stroud is drafted. But just being in the same building, being around these same guys, these weapons for so many years, I expected more from Davis Mills in this game, and he just didn't show it. There was multiple opportunities where he came up short, and it started off so well when he hits Nico down that right sideline, and Nico runs a professional wide receiver route, slows it a little bit, stacks to the cornerback Riley Moss on his back, shows late hands to pluck the ball, and Davis Mills, for his part, drops it over that outside right shoulder to protect it from the cornerback. I'm like, okay, so this is what I expect to see from Mills. And then we didn't really see that the rest of the game. What we did see was Davis Mills just staring down his read to the point, like where I think it was a 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4. He stares down his read so much that you go back and watch the end zone view on the replay. And there's 3 defenders at 3 different levels with their arms up because everybody in the house knows where Davis Mills is throwing that ball.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. And I did think, and I'm going to get to it. We're not there yet, but we're going to get to it. I did think there was a couple big plays that Davis Mills, it wasn't like he wasn't going down the field. We're going to talk about another couple of them. You just mentioned one of them with the Nico play on this particular drive, but there's 2 more. You think he's not going down the field because when he does, nothing happens. So except the Nico play. So we'll get there. But another Texans shutdown on defense after that. Derek Barnett, great TFL. Jalen Knoll doesn't quite break another punt return, but because he extended the return, it leads to a personal foul. So 9 yards turns into 24. Knoll on the punt returns has just been so much fun to watch. But Mills can't connect with Nico on 3rd and 2. That's, I think, the one you're talking about when he was staring him down. Is that right, Jason?
No, it was another play later in the game. That one there you're talking about, he does stare Nico down and it allows Riley Moss, I believe, was in coverage on that, to come in and get the pass breakup. But there were so many stare down. But it's another one later in the game where there's 3 defenders that all have their hands up at the line. That is, you have to send it through all these 6'3" to 6'5" defenders, because everybody knows where the ball's going. He's staring it down so much. And you do that against NFL defenses, and you don't have a high chance of success.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, it wasn't just those defenders. I saw the whole right side of the field looking over the left side of the field as soon as he got back to pass. So anyway, so at this point, you're wondering when the Texans defense is going to get tired, but they force another 3 and out after that. Then Sheldon Rankins stuffed Dobbins on a 3rd and short. That was the key part of that drive. Great stuff by Rankins. So again, Texans momentum, maybe, but Texans go 3 and out. Then Broncos go the 8 plays, 61-yard touchdown drive. And Tom, there is nothing scarier on Halloween than Henry To'oTo'o and one-on-one pass coverage.
Yeah, it's not where you want him. It's just not a positive matchup. Harvey's been cooking a lot of people. Like, this isn't new. It's not like this guy is like Dare and he's a special teamer. No, they drafted him for this, and they tried really hard to get him the football. And I think the broadcast was talking about this was like a choose it route or whatever. He could choose to go whichever way. So that kind of froze To'oTo'o, knowing that, okay, I've got to be able to go either which direction. And he just made a really good play. Yes, you can be upset with Henry To'oTo'o, absolutely. But I don't know who makes that play. Like, there's only a handful of linebackers that are going to make that play. Harvey's been doing this all season.
The one guy who's not going to make the play for the Texans, though, there is Henry To'oTo'o, Jason. That's the one guy who's not.
Yeah, you know what's more troublesome than that, though? The play before it. 3rd down and inches. Kamari's up against rookie Pat Bryant on the outside. He reads the jet sweep on the 3rd and inches, breaks perfectly to it, beats Patrick Bryant so bad that he's about to have him at TFL. The rookie wide receiver grabs Kamari by the shoulder pad and tackles him and takes him straight down right in front of the refs. D'Amico's going crazy on the sideline. Frank Frost, the whole sideline's going crazy. The guy ends up rushing, gets the 1st down. No penalty called. Next play, the touchdown pass to R.J. Harvey. I mean, that's a +7 there. At a minimum, that's a +4 if you get, because 3rd and 10, the way the defense was playing, I seriously doubt they pick up the 1st down. Maybe they get the field goal. That's still a 4-point difference there. You can't miss that type of call out in the open on such a pivotal 3rd and inches play.
All right, now I'm going to give you a 7-point difference play. The Texans' next drive. This is what I'm talking about. Davis Mills just not good enough. Number one, he had Nico who beat the cornerback deep. Now, you're going to say, well, the safety was there. The safety was there because he didn't throw it fast enough because Nico had the guy beat. He basically let the safety back in the play. He also threw it at the wrong spot. If he had thrown it outside instead of inside, it's a touchdown for Davis Mills. And you're like, well, that's just one play that he went downfield. No, same series. He overthrews Kirk at the Broncos 35, Tom. So he did go down the field a couple of times. He just didn't do it. If he hits either one of those two plays, we're talking touchdown. That's 7 points. Ball game over with. That's Davis Mills for you right in a nutshell.
I'm sorry. He went down the field twice. My bad.
No, 3 times because he went downfield for Nico too. And but both of those were we're talking 2 touchdowns that he could have had there if he just hits the guy in stride. Like those plays were there for the taking. Just one of those 2 plays, he had 2 chances and like 3 downs there. I mean, that's where I get frustrated. It's like Davis Mills doesn't have a chance. He wasn't given it. First of all, I don't want Davis Mills throwing all the time. I think there were people out there, well, Davis Mills needs to throw the ball more. No, if CJ Stroud was in there, I still would have wanted us to run. Our problem is when we get away from the run and we're throwing all the time and they just tee off on our offensive line, and we know how well that goes. So, like, no, I didn't have problem with, how many plays that Davis was throwing. It was when he was throwing and he was just missing stuff. And like, Jayson talked about, he's keying on guys and, he's missing guys, just all that sort of stuff. Let's keep moving. Texans D get their 4th 3 and out of the game, but the Texans offense, who can't afford penalties. Here we go again. Xavier Hutchinson, second holding penalty. Nixes a Chubb first down run. Texans go nowhere. Every little thing matters in a game like this. Jamal Hill blows an incredible special teams effort by Tremont Smith that could have pinned the Broncos at the 1-yard line. That could have been huge. That could have ended up in a safety. I mean, just these little things. This is D'Amico Ryan's teams. Little things cost you in games like this. And the Texans, all these little things, they kept screwing up. So after a couple of punts, big Texans defensive possession. Matt Burke, I thought, dialed up a couple of great blitzes at midfield. I liked the aggressiveness right there, especially with the way Nix was playing. Tip of the cap to him. The offense stuck in the mud, though. Can't move the ball again. And, Tom, the Texans, they could have just run the ball, forced the Broncos to use the 2 timeouts, and played it safer. Typically, I'm not the play it safe guy, but right there, wouldn't you have considered that, considering what had happened the whole rest of the half?
You talked about the defense and the defense losing and being on the field at the end of the games and things of that nature, and how this defense wasn't good enough. And to that, I would say, if you go back and you look at the time possession of this football game, the Texans in the first half possessed the football for 23 minutes. In the second half, they possessed the football for 11 minutes and 59 seconds. That defense was on the field the entire flipping game in the second half, because however you want to paint the picture, it's incredibly difficult to live on the football field that much in the second half and not break. Like, as much as we feel like, hey, they should be better and little things, and they have to do this right and have to do that right, it has to be complimentary, and it wasn't. And for me, if the offense was just a little bit better, then we're probably talking a different story. And we can say, okay, they should have did this or they should have did that. But I mean, I truly feel like this game in a nutshell boils down to me, like, who was there and who wasn't. And I don't know how to make Davis Mills a more accurate dude. I don't. And, there was I can't remember the head coach. I think it was, I don't want to say it was Peyton, but they asked him, like, hey, how do you prepare for your backup quarterback? And it's like, we don't prepare for that. If we get that guy, we're screwed. We don't prepare for that. And, the Texans, for all of this, I feel like they did as much as they could. I wish they would have pulled this game out, because we'd be talking about how they're still a playoff team and game on and everything. And instead, we're talking about mock drafts and trading guys away and stuff like that.
Yeah, I get they're tired. I get all that. And I it's not like I'm blaming the defense for what's going on. I'm just like, if we're going to say, hey, this is a really good defense, I'm with you on that. My point with the defense is like, don't make this into like, oh, this is one of the great defenses ever, because you got to make plays. Sometimes making plays is like, hey, turn the ball over, get some points for your own team. The Texans could use a pick six or a fumble recovery that they turned into a touchdown. I know it seems like, oh, that's a lot to ask, but that's what the elite of the elite defenses do. Defenses that have two guys that are two of the best pass rushers, maybe the best pass rushing tandem in the NFL. I have something to say about that in just a second, Jason. But and you have two of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. I want to see these guys turning it into six. But Jason, going back to what my point was, I just think D'Amico late in games doesn't make good decisions. And my point was, this was a game where you just go, okay, they got 2 timeouts to go. Okay. Or 2 timeouts left right there. You run the football 3 times. You make them use both timeouts. You make them, you use like whatever it is, 40 something. So they're going to have like 30 seconds left. Tommy Townsend was punting the hell. Give Tommy Townsend credit. He was punting the hell out of the ball. Broncos punter also. I mean, both of those guys were just booming punts. I'm like, okay, let's just take it into overtime. And maybe we win the toss and we go down and score a touchdown by accident or something. I don't know, but Davis Mills was not going to come up with like the 1 minute and 20-second drive there. I had I had way more confidence that he was going to blow it, and then somehow the Texans were going to blow it at the end on defense. Because just what Tom just said, they had been on the field the entire second half.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. You've got to take all the variables into consideration. Like we were talking about the 4th and 1, down 7-6. Normally I say go for it. This team can't get 1 yard, whether it's on the goal line or if it's traditional. And so normally I want to see the team go for it. There I say kick the field goal, take the 9-7 lead, and then let your defense win you this game. Here, not same, but similar situation and thought process there. You're pinned back inside the 15, I think it was at that time. I think they were down. I think Noel Fair caught it like at the 13, if I'm not mistaken, give or take. All right. So in that situation, Denver in a tie game punched you the ball with 1 minute and 21 seconds left. Denver's got 2 timeouts left. They're probably thinking to themselves, like, man, we're going to have to burn these 2 timeouts, try to stop them from field goal. Houston has to know, like, we haven't moved the ball. The Texans outside the field goal to start the second half, they punted the next 6 series to end the game. No other point. The most yards on a drive was 14 net yards after their last field goal to start the second half. 14 net yards. That was the most on any drive in the second half after that initial field goal. So what makes you think all of a sudden Davis Mills is going to become the type, like you said, Robert, to drive you down there, be smart with clock management, get you in field goal range? So Denver's sitting there. They're thinking they're going to have to burn through it. They're worried about Houston driving. You have to eat that clock because you have to be aware of who you have. You're pinned up inside the 15. Now, maybe if the Texans are at the 35, 40-yard line, obviously you go ahead and try to get 20, 25 yards and set up a winning field goal. Inside the 15, I'm surprised Davis didn't throw a pick 6 and lose the game there. So Denver, 1 minute 21 left with 2 timeouts. The clock management was so bad that not only did Denver get the ball back, drive down into field goal range, they didn't even use either one of their 2 timeouts until they let the clock run down to 3 seconds to call a timeout to kick the winning field goal. They ended the game still having 1 timeout. And the only reason they used 1 was to eat clock and call the timeout for the winning field goal. They punted with 1 minute 21 left. You understand how bad that is, a clock management? And yes, this isn't revisionary history. At no point did I feel like Davis Mills was going to go get you 40 yards all of a sudden because he hadn't given you 40 yards in that second half, probably.
Yeah, I did what you said. I was just expecting Mills to throw in that situation. I was scared to death of that. Ramon says, I'm a Broncos fan, but I think today was a great game. I think Texans have a great defense too. And I want to throw out one last part on the defense because talking about the last defensive drive, the Texans defensive line allowed Knicks to escape the big scramble. This is the second game that the Texans D allowed a big scramble late in the game that pretty much cost them the ball game. So Jason, I want to ask you, do you think the Texans they need to start doing this at the end of the game? There's got to be somebody shadowing the quarterback. You cannot just rush 4 and let, what happens. The other one, of course, was the one where they brought the extra guy, but he missed it. I think it was either Aziz or Toa that missed the Baker. It was a Toa that missed Baker Mayfield. Also, hey, I want to say give this Broncos offensive line credit. They gave him all day when the Texans didn't bring extra guys. So Daniil and Will were not getting there on Nix. They were not putting him on the ground. And I just thought at some point, those two guys, that's what I'm saying. At some point, you can talk about, oh, we got all these great guys. We got this great defense. Well, this is a game where Daniil or Will has got to make a play. There was one sack on Nix the whole game. And I get it. Sometimes he gets rid of the ball pretty quick, but there were times he couldn't get rid of the ball quick because of the Texans secondary. And he's sitting back there and I'm like, where's our guys? Why isn't Will or Daniil on him by now? With all due respect to their offensive line, if you're going to be this great defensive end duel, then one of those guys has got to get there, right, Jace?
Well, they have pressure that got there quite a few times. On the Kalen Bullock interception, the reason that's a pick and he doesn't throw a better ball there is Daniil Hunter's about to take him down. Derek Stingley, I think there was pressure coming on that one as well. And, I mean, you talk about Kamari Lassiter and Derek Stingley catch 2 balls that hit him right in the hand. Bo Nix has 3 interceptions in this game. And so pressure was getting there. Also, the Broncos do a great job of having that tight end kind of chip as well. And that's another thing that, we haven't even really talked about Titus Howard going down with a concussion. Not only does that force Blake Fisher into your right tackle position, but against this great Broncos pass rush, it prevents you from going jumbo there. And so it was just almost a domino effect of negative things that hit the Texans and kept making this game tougher for them. And it still should have been a game they should have pulled out a win. That being said, you don't get credit for being one play away or in another one-score loss. You start 0-3, you get rid of those benefits. Now, if you're sitting here at 5-3 and this game made you 5-3, then I would be a little bit more gracious with it and say, hey, it snuck away, 1 score, injury to Stroud. But starting 0-3, you dug this hole for yourself, and you probably dug the hole too deep for you to get out of.
Yeah, J.J. Watt, he made a career not out of just almost getting there a lot of the time. He made a career out of getting there at times and making plays and causing turnovers and stuff like that. Yeah, we saw Will Anderson do it against the 49ers. I just need to see more of that from these guys that, that do this stuff. Obviously, again, I'm going to say this like in a way that like, no, they're not the problem. I'm just saying like, okay, you're going to be talked about as an elite defense and elite guys. Then I need you to make some big plays. I need you to win some games. We need you to win games because we have invested a high draft pick in you, Will Anderson. We've invested a lot of money in you, Daniil Hunter. We put the money in those 2 guys. We need you guys to make plays and not just, once every 3 or 4 weeks. We need you to make some plays, consistently so we can win some of these games.
I mean, he did just 2 weeks ago. He did sack Sam Darnold and have a defensive touchdown. And I mean, one thing that I think is getting, we talk a lot about how much the Texans have controlled time of possession. And everyone's like, well, the Texans going into this game, like Texans only 17th in sacks per pass attempt, all that. And the one thing they leave out, and I'm like, dude, 4 out of the last 5 games, the opposing team, if I'm not mistaken, has only had the ball 24 minutes or less, between 21 and 24 minutes. They're not on the field as much and not as able to take as many reps as other teams that are playing 30 minutes a game. Also, when you start off 0-3 and you're down in these games, you're not in a lot of passing situations in games. So I think that prevents a lot of the stats and why they're not ranked number 1 and number 2 in a lot of these top categories. The time of possession, the limit on the field, and being down in games.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the fact that they're not on the field, that is a good point. But yeah, and I said a couple of weeks ago he did make a big play, the Sam Darnold play. But yeah, I'm just saying, it would help if a couple more of those plays if he made them this year, the Texans have had so many close games. If he makes a couple more of those plays, maybe they win a couple of those games. But yeah, I mean, I see your point. Our friends at FanDuel, by the way, have the Texans favored by 1.5 over the Jags at home. So I guess they're basically saying on a neutral field, the Jags are only 1.5 better than the Texans with Davis Mills playing, because they have to assume Stroud's going to be out after the concussion, especially, him leaving the game and how severe that concussion looked as he went, he went off the field initially. I'm still getting over the Texans being favored by 2.5 against the Broncos, but Tom, they're favoring Davis Mills against the Jaguars. Such disrespect to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
They definitely don't listen to the Texans fan base, the media, or any of the podcasters, because there's no way anybody in Houston is picking the Texans by 2.5 after the conversation we just had and the conversation on social media. There is no way. They're running to the bank to go bet on the Jags right now to go make this money. I promise you. I won't, but I guarantee you there's a large contingency.
Yeah, Jags barely squeaked out a win over the Raiders today. And I think that's what's probably really frustrating for Texans fans, is that you have the Colts, really everybody every week for the first 8 weeks or whatever it's been, like, are you buying the Colts now? You're buying the Colts? No, they haven't played anybody. And then they go play a mediocre Steelers team that ranks among the worst in so many defensive categories, and they get stomped. I don't care that it ended in a one-score game. They put up junk points at the end and try to make it close at the end. They were getting their butts whooped all day. Daniel Jones got back in his pumpkin at the end of the night, and now, like, the toughest part of the schedule still hasn't even hit. The last 6 games is when it really gets tough for them. And so if the Texans just win this game with the Jags struggling with the Raiders, and I know Brock Bowers came back, and that gives you a different look to the Raiders team, but still, the whole feel around the Texans, like to Tom's point, what he was saying, the whole feel around the Texans is completely different. If you're sitting there finally back at 500 after starting 0-3, you're 4-4, Jags struggling with the Raiders, Colts getting manhandled by the Steelers, and you're like, okay, you're feeling your inner Kevin Garnett. Anything is possible. You know what I mean? And so I think that's what makes it so frustrating. And also, even for the fans that won't admit it, I think they're really upset about this loss, because I think they've got that voice inside of them saying it's really going to be tough to go 7-2 if 10-7 is what it's going to take to make the playoffs with the slate of games ahead.
One thing that I see on the over-under is 38.5. I keep saying play the under. Like, FanDuel can't figure it out. I'm trying to help you guys out there. They cannot figure it out. You play the under on the Texans every week. They keep making it too high. 38.5. How is anybody going to score in this game? Trevor Lawrence against the Texans defense in Houston is not a good formula. Davis Mills against anybody is not a good formula. I can't see it getting to third. I would be shocked, but I could see the Texans winning the game, maybe, but there's no way I would bet on it. I'm taking the Jags in that case, and I'm absolutely betting the under. And watch me be wrong, but I've been right on the over/under almost every single game this year. Under, and just keep betting the under, because they can't figure it out. The Texans defense is great and their offense stinks. We know it, guys. We're going to show it. I'm doing my sister's cheerleading back in the day. But some final thoughts. Jason, you had some thoughts on Titus and Blake Fisher and that situation, because Titus probably out next week. I would assume he's out with the concussion. What do you think about the Blake Fisher and Tyus Howard situation?
You don't have a starting left guard on this team. Yeah, you're rolling out Lakin Thomas and Drew Scruggs. The old saying, if you have two, you don't have one. It's normally about quarterbacks, but in Houston, it's talking about starting left guards. So I've always liked Tyus Howard better as a right tackle. But right now, like Tom was leading to earlier in the show, the future is now. And my belief is that the future is now. So you've got CJ Stroud, you blew his rookie window on his contract, and Will Anderson Jr., two guys you took in the top 3 picks. Those guys are eligible to get paid and extended off of their rookie contracts at the end of this season. So you need to figure out places you can save money. Well, what if you can find bookends with your last 2 second-round picks in Ariante Ursary and Blake Fisher? And so I say you go ahead and roll out the young guys, whether Titus is back this week or not. And if Titus misses this week, Blake Fisher is your right tackle, like we saw in this game. And if he's back, you kick Titus into left guard. Bench Lakin, bench Juice Scruggs, go with Ed Ingram. And if you want to stick with the center, but my thing is, you try to see, these are live game reps. Nothing's more important than live game reps. They're 100 times more valuable than the preseason. So let Blake Fisher take his lumps. Let Ariante Ursary take his lumps, which you plan on anyway. Also, Tom Minson trading Christian Kirk. 100%. Makes 100%. Get Jalen Noel out there. Jaden Higgins. Get your young guys out there, and hopefully Cade Stover is going to come back healthy here sometime soon, and get Cade Stover back in there, because you're going for the future, and these guys on these rookie contracts, see if they can stand up as foundation pieces on the low. Also, if you're sitting there at 3-5, what's one benefit from being 3-5 or having a bad record in the season? Having a higher draft position. Well, what also factors into your record? Waiver claims. You're sitting there at 3-5. Roll the dice on offensive linemen. Sign them off practice squads. Somebody gets cut, bring them in. You're not stuck with them. Cut them again if you have to, but try to find a diamond in the rough in the offensive lineman, because right now you have to fix that interior of the offensive line for 2026 and going forward, and you have to do it for the Chiefs. And before I pass that mic, I want to ask Tom as well. You mentioned Danico Autry. Normally, we don't trade inside the division in the NFL or in any league. Jaguars are reportedly in the market for a D tackle. Do you trade them to the Jags? And you would have to do it on Jags week, because the deadline passes on Tuesday.
I mean, for me, they're not going to do any of this. Like I suggested it.
I agree.
They're not doing any of this. All of this would signal that Nick's probably out, that D'Amico's probably out, and they're not doing that. They're not doing that. They're not tanking for the benefit of the team at the expense of their jobs. As much as they should, if we believe that they cannot win 7 of the next 9 games. And I don't know if that's a conversation that'll even be had. So they're going to roll out everybody the same way. They're going to roll out the same guys, and they're going to try to win as many games as they can. You may hate it. Rob's absolutely going to hate it, but that's what they're going to do. And the argument that they're going to make is that, yes, our record is 3-5, but yes, we could have won so many more of those games. So we don't feel like we can't play with the teams that y'all have already decided we've lost to. We don't feel like we're as bad as our record is. You may feel that way. The defense to them feels like it's playoff caliber. The offense, for whatever you want to say, for the last 5 quarters of football, the 4 from the last game and the first of this game, they were moving the ball up and down the field all they wanted. Now, could they punch it in? No. But could they get to where they needed to? Absolutely. And that's the argument that they're going to make. I don't know what you do. You're stuck in the middle, and it's the worst place in any sport. Anywhere, you either want to be at the bottom or you want to be at the top. You never want to be at the middle. The Texans are absolutely in the middle, and it's tough. It's a hard place to be. It's a hard place to get better because of what you spoke to, waiver claims, draft position, all that jazz. You don't want to do those things because you feel like you're better than you are, and you don't want to go all the way back down to the bottom. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm faithfully going to root for them to win every game, and I'm not going to mock draft until it's time to mock draft at the end of the season like a normal human being. But I understand it.
Yeah, I'm not the person that likes to tank unless there's a quarterback involved, like we saw a couple of years ago with the Stroud and Bryce Young thing or whatever. It turns out it got all flipped around. So that didn't matter as much. But, yeah, I don't see them doing that either, Tom. And I think the key is here, you got a bunch of guys that are vets on this team and are coming back. I mean, there's guys that have been around a little bit that are going to be coming back. you would assume the Dalton Schultzes, the Danielle Hunters, and guys like that. So I'm thinking some of these guys are going to be back next year. So at that point, like, I just don't want the tone set. I need the tone to be set of, hey, let's start figuring out a way to beat these good teams. And this is also a test for D'Amico. That's why I don't want to give up on the season. Like, D'Amico, hey, if this guy's ever going to be a good coach, he's going to have to start figuring this out. I can't go into every game against another good coach, another good team, and D'Amico falls flat on his face. And at some point, we have to send him out there with, okay, we're trying to win. We gave you the guys. You got to go out there and do this. And here's the issue that I have with what Jayson's talking about. And Jayson, you can respond to this, but okay, you want to put Blake Fisher out there. You want to see what he's got. My concern with Blake Fisher at right tackle is not the fact that, oh, I want to see him out there getting reps. My problem is he's protecting CJ Stroud. You know, not maybe next week, maybe not the week after that, but he's going to be protecting CJ Stroud the rest of the season. Do you trust Blake Fisher protecting CJ Stroud at right tackle more putting Titus at left guard? Or would you rather trust Titus at right tackle and whoever is at left guard? And personally, even with me saying they don't have a chance, that doesn't mean you can't go out and get a left guard that maybe is somebody that you can keep around for next year. You trade him, and if he's on expiring, he's on 1 year, then, you know, re-sign him, get another year or two out of him, put him on an extension as soon as you get him in here. But like, I don't like this whole idea of like every year we bring in a whole new offensive line. Let's, in the middle of the year, start figuring out a way we can solidify this offensive line going into next year, and they get experience going into next year as an offensive line together, whether it's Zeitler, whether it's the guys with the Browns, whoever it is. Go out there and get a guard now. I don't want to go, okay, well, we'll get a veteran in the offseason. Maybe if somebody falls into our lap and we get lucky and the price is right and somebody else doesn't outbid us and blah, 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 blah. Or we're going to get a guy in the draft and we're going to have to deal with another rookie, acclimating him, another Ariante Arasuri, but instead he's a guard instead of tackle. So I don't know, Jayson, you still feel good about Blake Fisher at right tackle, protecting CJ Stroud's life?
Yeah, I love, we've seen Blake Fisher in limited roles getting better. You know, I mean, he's getting better being trot out there with the bumpers on. Like you take your kids bowling and they pull up the bumpers. I guess they still do. That's what they did when I was young. So you get them out there with the bumpers as that 6'0" lineman in the jumbo package. Well, let me ask you. You asked me if I feel comfortable putting Stroud behind Blake, and I know he's a right tackle, you know, playing the tackle position as opposed to interior, but is it really that much worse, or, you know, to put Blake Fisher at right tackle and Titus Howard at left guard than it is Titus at right tackle with Lakin and Drew Scruggs on a rotation at left guard? You don't have the left guard situation. Neither one of those guys are your starters next year. And neither one of them are you sitting there like, hey, we need to have a competition with one of these two guys in it. No, you're looking to upgrade that. Both of them are replacement level players. You put Titus there, he upgrades that position, and you also glass half full. You're not going to be in this situation where you can give young, talented guys live game reps for half a season too often under C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson and Derek Stingley's contracts. Yeah, even when you pay Stroud and Stingley and all that, you're not going to have too many seasons where you're going to be below 500 like I expect them to finish this year. So if you go glass half full, make the most of the down season and get live game reps to get your guys ready for a season in which things matter. Now, to y'all's point, I think y'all both brought up an excellent point where you said they're not going to tank. And I'm not telling them to tank. Go out there and try to win every game, but give the value reps to these young guys that you drafted in the second and third. Blake Fisher was a second-round pick. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins, second and third round picks. Put them out there. You know, take Christian Kirk, ship him out of town. You know, Cade Stover, fourth round pick that you traded up for, if I'm not mistaken. These are, you know, top 100 plus type picks here. And so give them live game reps. And I understand, I think it's extremely great points that y'all bring up. Well, Nick Caserio and D'Amico is going to put those best guys out there. For one, they don't believe they're not able to compete in these games, and that if they do go out there and do this and they don't give themselves the best best chance at winning, then they're probably putting their neck on the chopping block. So I think both of those are valid points that y'all bring up.
Right. And I'm interested to see what they're going to do at the trade deadline because, Caserio, he knows what he needs. If he's serious about trying to win the rest of these games,
they're not buying.
He's got to go out and get. You got to go out and get a guard. Like
there's no way
if you're going to tell the fan base, if you're going to tell the fan base we're serious, you got to go out and get a guard. And you can still sell off some guys too. I agree with you. Like Christian Kirk can go. Like we're talking about selling off guys that really I don't know if Christian Kirk is much better than a Braxton Berrios or a Jalen Noel at this point. And there's such a small difference there that you might as well go with the guys that maybe you're going to have down the road, like Noel or something like that. And I don't know why Noel isn't playing more. And the only thing that I can think of is just, I don't know what you're seeing, Jason, but there are times where maybe he's not where he's supposed to be as a wide receiver. He hasn't figured out, where to find the open space in the secondary at points. I saw in film, you pointed out he missed a key block as a slot guy today and on one of the plays. It could have been a big one. So maybe it's stuff like that. But for some reason, Noel, with all of the explosiveness for a team that desperately needs a guy that can maybe go and get you a touchdown on something short, especially when your quarterback's Davis Mills, why isn't Jalen Noel out there?
No, 100%, 100% agree. But at 3-5, though, I think Nick Caserio has been planting that seed for a while where they weren't going to be buyers. Talking about in the interviews how nothing really goes down for the trade deadlines. They're usually lesser known guys and all that. So I feel like he's been planting that seed because realistically he knows that there's a chance he goes into this trade deadline at 3-5. And I can't see that. I could be wrong. This is just speculation on my part. But with Stroud's contract coming up, Will Anderson Jr.'s contract, both of them being eligible for new deals that's going to pay him both $50 million plus probably a year, I'm looking to, the salary cap's like AT&T and Singular back in the day with the rollover minutes. That salary cap rolls over. I'm trying to ship out every vet contract I can, and all that money I'm not looking to spend this year. I'm looking to roll it over the next year to get a foot out in front of those Will Anderson Jr. And CJ Stroud type contracts. So I can't see them buying at 3-5. If they won this game, I definitely felt like they could buy on some guys. The sad thing is most of the guys that I thought would be great trade candidates for him, another negative in this game is that they got injured. Christian Harris, great trade candidate, especially for the 49ers, and knowing D'Amico and the system for him to replace Fred Warner and a defense that is just leaking with tons of injuries. Darrell Taylor, with all these teams looking at pass rush, gets injured in this game. Christian Harris, Titus Howard. I'm not saying trade Titus Howard, but Trent Brown, he was more of a luxury if you stay healthy at tackle. You could have moved Trent Brown. Now I think that's off the table because you need his depth at least for 1 week. And by the time that 1 week passed, the trade deadline's already passed as well. So I think you lost 3 guys that you could possibly trade here during the deadline. I don't think you have that luxury anymore because of the way this game played out.
Yeah, all those 6-round picks that you missed out on, get some more of those 6-round picks. The Caserio special. That's the
and getting rid of salary.
Yeah, well, you get rid of salary, I guess. Also, just want to remind everybody, it's at Jayson Braddock. Go check out his work on X and everything he's got going on with Dr. Roto, and also Tom Chavarria. You know where he's at Third Coast Tom, the Bullpen podcast. Thanks for joining us on the Houston Sports Talk Live Texans postgame presented by FanDuel. As always, go to FanDuel.com. Go check it out. We're trying to help you win money over there. Go look and see what they've got going on. Thanks to Jason. Thanks to Tom. Great insight. Somehow we got to get this thing back on track to make the season fun for us. So hopefully we can do it. Thanks for everybody for all your comments, and go Texans.
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.
Hey, don't forget to support us by subscribing and commenting on YouTube. You can always listen to us on Spotify, Apple, or your favorite podcast app. Tell your friends about us and share our show links on social media. Spread the word, everybody. Thanks for listening.